Hi Peter. You've read certain parts already from the book The Anand Files, and would like to discuss with you your own experiences as second, and also when you had formed your own team. But first, on the parts you've read, what's your impression so far about the concept of the book, and any big surprises so far?
Well, I mean, first of all, I have to say I'm very, very happy that such a book has been written, because I think it's really a unique book and a very exciting and very interesting topic. Also, I mean, I feel like this is somehow world chess heritage, all these matches, you know, because I mean, Vishy really had these 3 fantastic matches which he has won, and to get the chance to look behind the curtains, what really happened and how he was preparing, this is really something very, very special.
Yeah, okay. Now you worked with Vishy, I think, way back when you were maybe 17, 18 years old, pre-engine time probably. Was that indeed the case, that you were just sitting around the board? Was that how you were working with him when you were still a junior?
Not at all.
Not
at all. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we had our first training camp in Vishy, I think it was in May '96.
Yeah.
And we already back then used the engine.
Yeah.
However, engines were much, much weaker. So it's also a very exciting thing to be part right from the beginning, how things have developed and how engines world has changed the way of preparation, how you see things, and how also you use the engines. Because back then, of course, we kind of created all the ideas, and we used Fritz, which was back then, of course, the main program, to check for tactical mistakes or whatever. And thanks to all these tactical insights from back then already, from the weak computer, but still, it was a help. We could actually go much deeper, and our analysis could be much, much better than without the engine. So it was already like revolutionary times. And then how it evolved later, I mean, start of 2000s, then middle of 2000s. I mean, basically every year I can even remember how my repertoire was changing due to which engine, which impact he was bringing, and it was fascinating, of course, back then to be able to work with Vishy, because, okay, he was just incredibly strong, but I think I was also surprising him.
Okay, very good. Hey, and then a step forward, you qualified to play for the title against Kramnik. In the book I write a bit about how Vishy selected the team. How did you go about that? Because this was the first time you probably had to select your own team.
Exactly. I mean, okay, I basically had a constant trainer with Arshak Petrosyan, who basically moved to Szeged in 2001. And we started to work from March 2001 exclusively with Arshak, basically every day. And I think this is always very, very important to have someone who is near to you, who knows everything. There are no secrets. You do the strategy, everything together. But of course, once suddenly you reach something big, and you feel like you need a next step, because okay, that is just way too much work to be done. You can't do it by yourselves. So you have to expand. And then, of course, it's always a very, very tricky situation. I mean, how you select what you are doing. I feel like my situation was in this sense even much, much tougher, that our match was hanging in the air. This was a huge problem. I mean, it was not clear when this match is going to happen. So once I qualify, should I immediately build a team, but there is even no contract, I don't know anything.
Maybe no budget. So
exactly. I mean, a lot of pressure. We don't know what is going to happen. Then I do remember that I prepared between 2002 November and 2003 January, like for two and a half months. But back then, Kramnik was playing exclusively D4. So my main preparation was actually building against D4. And then the Vladimir that I faced later, 1.5 years later, or even almost 2 years later, was a completely different person who was playing exclusively E4. And this is also very tricky. So I was suffering big time, and I was a little bit jealous when I was reading the book, and I felt like how nice it was that already after Vishy had won Mexico City World Championship, which was September 2007, then he kind of had 1 year to slowly, step by step, build up and also start this work. For example, if he would not have known this thing, he would have just maybe had half a year, maybe he would have never dared to really go for 1d4. because then he just feels that it's insane, you don't have enough time. But like this, that he had the time, then slowly he could take the decision and start working on it, and you describe in very, very nice detail everything, how then step by step the puzzles got together, and how the team was really working the way it worked, and how it was functioning. So I think it's really fascinating, because I think this is a book which is very interesting for everyone, for professionals, because it's very interesting to see what is happening, how Vishy was managing all this, and also for amateurs or chess lovers, doesn't matter which strengths, because they finally feel that they are part of a world championship match, and there is always this big mystery: what is this world championship match, how much they are working, what they are doing, and how much you can work at all. But believe me, even by reading the book, and when you say that the second goes to sleep at 6 in the morning and wakes up at 9, you just cannot imagine the feeling, how it really feels. And when Rustam, I was reading this in the book, when he really felt like when he goes to sleep he feels dying, and when he wakes up he feels dying, it's exactly the way you feel. And because even during those times you cannot really sleep, because you can never relax. And it's also not the point that you do this because you have to do it. It's simply you feel like if you help someone, you sign up because you really believe that you want to help this person. And then if you have any concerning thoughts in your mind, how can you go to sleep? And that's exactly the problem, that if you really care about your player, then basically you have no time and no right to sleep at all. But on the other hand, if you don't sleep at all, you also cannot make the work as productive as it's possible. So it's like always a big fight. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah, I wrote somewhere that if you have concerns, you have to solve them, and if you don't have concerns, you feel you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, completely. I mean, but also the point is that there are so many problems during a match, because you know exactly the insane amount of work that you are doing. That's exactly what your opponent and his team as well is doing. So they will also somehow create, I don't know, 100 pages of analysis during each night. I mean, imagine 4 guys, 4 super grandmasters with super engines. I mean, what they are capable of. It's, but then you also describe absolutely correctly that where does this lead? Because finally, when, for example, imagine 4 guys from the player, let's say Vishy goes to sleep at 11 in the night, and you work till 6. So it's like 7 hours of work by 4 multiplied by 7 plus super engine. How much material will be created while Vishy wakes up in the morning? And then before the game, will this be productive? Also in the night, you cannot consult with Vishy, and this is also a modern problem, that there is no objective truth about the position, because if you check with engine, then finally it will be draw. It will not be any advantage whatsoever, and then it's very important also to consult with the player, that which position he feels that, this position I'm fine with. Go deeper here. When the player is not there, then you can't do it, and then you just try to do the maximum amount of work, but most probably this amount of work will even be a waste, because you will never use it. But still, what should you do? You can go to sleep and do nothing, but you feel that it's also not the right strategy.
Hey, and I think in Bonn you were part of Team Kramnik. What do you still remember from that period? Because you were basically then against Vishy, well, before you had worked for him.
Yes, but okay, I mean, when I had this offer from Kramnik to join the team, of course, the first question for me was that, because, okay, we had very close,
Same manager?
Yes, we had the same manager, but basically, after the match also, and during the match and before the match, Vladimir was very correct, and we built up a very good relationship. And there was a big mutual respect for each other and so on. My only question was that, is it morally okay that I worked before with Vishy and then to help Vladi against Vishy or not? And okay, the situation was quite simple, because we have been working in the 90s, last time end of 98, and almost 10 years have passed, and after that we became concurrents because we were main rivals. That's exactly also the reason why we stopped the collaboration with Vishy, that we liked each other very much, but I mean, how to train together if we have to think about how to play against each other. So after all these times, I also checked, I had all the notes that we looked back then, of course, and I realized that there is just no relevance at all. So I'm not doing any harm, and I'm not helping because of against Vishy. I'm just helping because it's also kind of interesting work for me. I got this offer, so it was very, very interesting. I mean, regarding the details of the Kramniks preparation, what happened, I feel like as a second, I don't have the right to open up, because this, I feel like, is the players, I mean, it's Vladi's decision that how much he tells about the match.
But can you share a bit how you experienced, for example, from your point of view, the Meran, which must have come as a shock?
No, I mean, it didn't come as a shock. Nothing come as a shock. But I mean, I cannot tell you anything. Okay. I mean, I just cannot tell you anything, because this is really up to Kramnik. I can say that everything what happened was a nightmare. Yeah. And I know exactly that. Okay, we have been fantastically prepared. Yeah. We have done incredible things, but the match itself went very unluckily. Yeah. Somehow, I also feel a little bit like there is some destiny to it, because simply Vishy had to be full world champion. I mean full. I mean in this sense that after the Mexico World Championship, he has already won it. But I mean, in order to have this legacy that actually Vishy deserves, he had to win. So I kind of little bit felt like Kramnik was in the wrong moment at the wrong place. Because it was just Vishy's time. It was Vishy's time, and I think this also, because there were so many coincidences that it basically showed that it had to happen.
Yes.
What to do? I was also in the wrong moment on the wrong place, but okay. After all, it was a sensational moment for Vishy. I mean, he became, I think, #1 in the world ranking. He reached 2800 for the first time in this period. He won Mexico, and then he won the match. Okay, it's fantastic.
Yeah, excellent. And then later, you started to help him again, mainly in Moscow, and also the match after that. But let's focus a bit on Moscow. How did you make that switch again to start working for him?
Well, I mean, it just happened. It just happened. I think it's also almost for the first time it's out that I helped him. I don't think that it was really published or it was known before that I was involved in the Moscow match. And okay, I was not really involved in the match itself. I was more like a training partner before. And okay, I have worked with Vishy then on such openings which was of mutual interest. Because I was also back then a player. So it was more like very interesting for my part also to be part of Vishy's team, to see how they are working, also to help a lot in those openings that we basically discuss. I'm learning myself a lot, and also all his team members are very good friends of mine. So it was kind of very nice to be part of this team.
So you were mainly in Bad Zoden, huh?
Yeah, I was in Bad Zoden, exactly.
Do you have any specific memories of that period?
Okay, that was the first time that I was in Bad Zoden for such a long time. So, I mean, when you describe all the restaurants and all the ways how it worked, and where you sleep and how you go to the working place and when do you finish and everything, then I kind of, I mean, nothing changed really. Exactly. I mean, it's
you can still dream of the menu.
That's and also that's the way how you prepare. I mean, if you do serious preparation, then it's full attention on chess. And I mean, what I always find very, very attractive and fascinating from the very best, and especially from Vishy, how much he loves doing this. Because you really have to enjoy this, otherwise it's just insanely amount of work, and if you don't enjoy it, then you cannot do it for months of periods. It's and Vishy somehow feels like he's always fresh. I don't know how he does it, but I mean, that's why he's also still at the age of 50 there on the top, and is ready to fight against anyone any moment. I don't know, somehow this very positive attitude and this incredible love for the game of chess drives him forward, and this I could always feel in the preparation as well. And that's why it was always, I think, for everyone who worked with Vishy, so much fun as well to work with him, because you could feel that it's great.
Yeah, you can feel the energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you describe a bit how you see the change in the strength of the engine compared in Bonn compared to the work you did in Moscow?
Well, I don't think that exactly in that period so many things changed, because as Vishy also explains, and in the book it's explained very well, that already exactly at that moment all this remote engine stuff started working. Of course, yeah, the engines got always then stronger, but the concept of working with the laptop and the remote together was the way of developing things. And basically simply that once you have started, because the question is always you run out of time. Yeah, so it looks like during a World Championship match you prepare for 2-3 months. Believe me, after the 2-3 months you feel like you did another 2-3 months, because the more deeper you search, the more problems you face, and you realize completely new planets, that the theory which so-called exists right now is nothing.
This is the known problem for any chess player. Your repertoire is never finished.
It's never finished, especially not if you are preparing for the World Championship match, because then you are trying to find completely new concepts and everything. So and also very practical, when you use the remote engine, then your laptop is not getting warm. I mean, it's silent, so you can really work, enjoy your time of with the computer, because I remember this period when the computer was so noisy, then you had to use on the maximum, then you were kind of worried that it will burn out, but you still need the answer. I mean, okay, please hang on for some more period. I remember also some friends of mine told me that there was such critical moment, emergency, when they had to take the frozen vegetables from the fridge to put it under so that it will hang on. Exactly, I mean, just to hang on, please, a little bit longer. And this was the way, and with the remote engine this problem was solved completely.
Yeah, yeah. Nowadays you hear, for example, with Team Carlsen, that they tend to work not at location but at a remote location also with the team. Do you think that would be beneficial to work in a different time zone, so you can work through the night while the player is sleeping, and next morning you have something, instead of working the 20-22 hours what they did in the matches in the book?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how the Magnus Team works or functions, because okay, yeah, this we know, but we don't have any details. And I have never worked for Team Magnus, so I have no insights. But I mean, it sounds very interesting. It definitely sounds very interesting, and I think also Magnus changed a lot of things in the World Championship match, kind of traditions, because I do remember that there was the press conference before the Chennai match, and Vishy named all of us, all his helpers, and Magnus stayed completely silent, like no. Maybe after the match, but not now. And that was also like a first kind of novelty from Team Carlsen. And that with the location, I mean, working from a different location. Okay, everybody has to feel how it works, because sometimes the player wants his seconds to be near, so be able to discuss things. Maybe the trainers or seconds have a huge impact also on him. Just as a psychologist or whatever, I mean, not in the sense that you really you need a treatment, no, but I mean, there might be something which is troubling the player, and it's nice to discuss it in a nice open manner. But if, for example, you don't have this need, then it's a very logical step. Yeah, and also nice if the seconds can get a little bit more sleep, it's very useful.
And maybe the quality goes actually up of their work. Maybe it wasn't so, in hindsight, so great to continue working such ridiculous hours.
Okay, you never know. You never know, because if the match ends well, then everybody will say that everything what you have done is brilliant. If things go wrong, then everything what you did is wrong. So I would not dare to make such judgments. I mean, I do believe that I mean, all these night works, we have been discovering so many things which might be finally not that useful for the match itself, but then the player carried on in the next years, and maybe not even next year, but in 3-4 years in advance. I mean, later he profited from it.
Yeah.
So I do believe that basically any work that is done, sooner or later will pay its role, but it's not connection with the actual result.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And when you were working for Kramnik, were you also working those long days?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there is no no difference. I mean, I had mornings when I was going to breakfast at 7:01, and the whole team was going 7:01. Imagine for this reason, because we just finished 5 minutes before our analysis.
Yeah.
And yeah, there were days like this. I mean, it's not like it's every day, but you simply feel like this is now alarming moment, and you feel like you have to do it.
Yeah, yeah. Now, apparently, Team Topolov had a more relaxed approach, so that's why I'm checking with you. So I talked to Erwin Lamy and Jan Smeets, and Ivan Cheparinov gave an interview, and they had proper night's sleep, and they even did some social things every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very different and surprising to hear.
Yes, well, I mean, okay, everybody has his own rhythm, and
Yeah.
Finally, the question is how long the seconds can hold on.
Yes.
So, okay, I'm usually in quite a good shape, or at least back then I was in very good shape, so I could hold on as much as possible, but I know that it was very tough. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get to my final question, which is, you were a second back then. If you would get the offer today, would you still consider, or would you think it's too intense to do it again?
I don't know. I mean, it always depends on the circumstances. Of course, also it depends on the person
Yeah.
who asks you, what he asks you, and so on. I would not rule it out.
Yeah.
Definitely, because okay, simply the point is that if you love chess
Yeah.
and you respect chess a lot, then it's kind of this always feels like some kind of ultimate challenge. Yeah. Okay.
Working at the highest level.
Yeah, working at the highest level, going to the absolute limit.
Yeah.
I mean, just to see, the question is really your health can still cope with it or not.
Yeah.
That's the main question.
Yeah.
If I feel like my health is still good enough, then it's very hard to say no to such a question or such a request.
Yeah. Thanks for it. Yeah.